And hello, this is Eamonn O'Brien, and you're so welcome to my expert series. And coming up today, we're going to talk about what it takes to create content that is more likely to be valued in an era where people are reading less and less online. And I am joined today by one of my great pals, all the way from sometimes sunny Hertfordshire. It is Amanda Brown, who is the person who heads up Altera Consulting, and she is really a specialist when it comes to online communication and creating content that people might care about. Hello, Amanda.
Hi, Eamonn. How are you? It's not so sunny Hertfordshire this morning, but we've had some lovely weather. Yes, we're here in just north of London, helping clients with effective online communications.
Well, good. Well, that's exactly what I want to talk about today. So you and I have talked many times in the past, and I'll just kind of talk about it now to you folks who are watching this, about the challenges that are faced by people who are creating content. What are the things that are stopping people from being seen and heard today, Amanda?
Well, as we all know, there are so many channels that you can spread your content on. So you've got Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp, Snapchat. There's so much choice that I think actually a lot of marketers and business owners find it very difficult to decide exactly which channel they should choose. So that tends to freeze them into inaction. So it's not just about the creation of the content, it's, oh, where do I share this? Where do I build my community? And my advice to people is to start with one and do it very well. Once you've done that very well, you can then move on to the next one. I, in particular, am in the business-to-business space, and so my natural home is LinkedIn. And obviously, we're seeing a lot of content being repurposed on LinkedIn in the form of what was called LinkedIn Pulse and is now called LinkedIn Articles.
Yes, absolutely. So tell me, when you're looking at content that tends to be valued and content that tends to be shared on LinkedIn, and we'll talk also maybe a little bit about Twitter and to a lesser extent about Facebook, because those tend to be the most common channels used. What are you seeing in terms of content that is most commonly viewed and consumed? What changes are you seeing?
On LinkedIn in particular, because now LinkedIn is moving with the times and is becoming more of a Facebook for business, if you like, we're definitely seeing the use of images and video gaining much more traction in terms of likes, comments, and shares. It's still a very difficult form to get engagement on. But certainly, if you're moving towards video in particular, you are to encourage people to interact with your content. I particularly like the fact that you can embed video into your articles. So if you have a YouTube channel or a Vimeo stream, that can be embedded into your long form posts.
Yeah, absolutely that. And it's quite clear, I've been noticing in particular over maybe the last year or so on LinkedIn that video, those posts that have video embedded in them, that I am noticing these much more than I am other content.
Definitely. And I think that businesses who are in the, who are selling to other businesses struggle with creating content or video content because they feel that it has to be so-called professional.
Oh,
so they're not very relaxed when it comes to just pulling out a smartphone or even recording themselves on a desktop. They're not very confident that that is portraying their business accurately. I mean, even now we're seeing lots of companies struggling even to suggest that they put a photograph of themselves on their website. So making that leap of faith into putting a video on LinkedIn is actually asking an awful lot. So it's a question of, educating them in the best ways of doing this.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. And actually, what's also interesting, I suppose, about that is that I liked when you talked about the professionalism versus, being more down home. That would you say that conversational pieces tend to get the most traction, or professional? Is there a reason why people gravitate towards professional? What are they afraid of?
I think they're afraid of that mismatch in their branding. And most companies of any size have spent an awful lot of money on their branding, and therefore their image is almost everything. And if you're breaking out into a new media, you've got no benchmark because your agency hasn't told you exactly how to create this video.
Yeah.
I have one particular client actually who has had a YouTube channel for a while, and fortunately they are on a river and have chosen to do quite a lot of their videos with the backdrop of a river and some buildings, and actually that is very much more relaxed. In
Yeah.
this era where we are in a virtually zero growth economy, people have a lot of choice when it comes to employing their accountant or a solicitor or a financial advisor. So people are buying not a name, they are buying from another person, even when it comes to, quite complex IT services. You know that person does a great job, but if you don't like that person and you can't relate to that person, you're not going to buy their services, however great they are. So actually showing your personality, because that's the only differentiator, if you like, is really important. And I think it's a question of people like you teaching us to become confident when it comes to appearing on video. I mean, I'm as bad as the rest of them. I'm not particularly keen on appearing on screen, so this puts me well out of my comfort zone.
Well, good. Well, we aim to please. But what you said actually is absolutely right, because it is about people knowing and liking and trusting you, and actually sharing, if you like, your personality, which is a perfect segue actually to the whole aspect of something you're huge on, which is also, if you like, creating a platform for community. If for people who want to, if you like, to create greater online presence and community, what one or two pieces of advice would you give people?
Okay, first of all, I think that there is no doubt that trying to use things like social media or email marketing in isolation from getting out and meeting people face to face, it's joining the dots when it comes to marketing. Hiding away behind a screen and pretending that we can all build great online businesses is actually for most people a fallacy. So I do believe that it is about continuing to go networking, continuing to meet your local businesses, because after all, they're the easiest people to build relationships with. You've got an awful lot of common ground in the first place. You're not having to try and relate to somebody who may be in a different country with a different culture. So I think there's no substitute for going out and talking face to face with other businesses. So take your online relationships offline. Make sure that you have those Skype calls and then meet in person. Obviously, that's not possible if you're in an e-commerce store. You're not going to do that. That's not your forte. You're basically selling on price. Whereas in the B2B space, you're selling on quality of service and your expertise. So I would say that building a community can start from that networking meeting you attended, Or around here, we have a thing called a jelly. Do you know what a
Jelly.
jelly is, Aim? Yes.
Okay, tell me what a jelly is. Go on.
Okay, a jelly, it comes from the States, and a jelly is a co-working opportunity, because I think it came from the fact that they used to put jelly beans on the table for
All
people
right.
to nibble on. So we have a jelly in our local pub. Once a month, we get together. This has grown from maybe 2 or 3 years ago, being a few of us, like 2 or 3 of us sometimes would turn up. So now there are 24, 25 people. I have to say, not much co-working gets done, but an awful lot of networking is undertaken, and people actually get business from that. So community, I do believe, is offline community joined with online community.
Yeah.
The other place people build communities is on places like Facebook groups, which are extremely successful. And I can say a little bit about, the contrast between a Facebook group as a community, your own forum, or a LinkedIn group. So there are places that you can build communities where you have control over those communities, and they have a very different feel about them. Facebook groups have been extremely successful, but maintaining engagement even on a Facebook group requires that you hold events.
Yeah, I
Because
think
that's
that's
the
really
only
important.
way you can engender
Yeah.
a reaction from other people. So think about joining up your Facebook group with inviting people to offline events, or maybe inviting people to webinars, because that is an event in itself. And then you will be able to engage with them in a deeper way. So Facebook groups are great. But
Yeah.
also beware, you cannot build your whole business on what we call rented land. So be very
Yes.
careful about using something like a Facebook group, whereby Facebook could change the rules and say, oh, well, now you've got to pay, Mr. Marketer, or we're not going to have Facebook groups anymore. We've decided, they just get in the way. We're just going to have Facebook pages now. So
Yeah.
be very careful that, you join up your thinking about how you engage with people. And so some people don't have a Facebook group. They have a forum, a traditional forum.
Yeah, no, as I was listening to you, because you're a fountain of knowledge on this, three things came to mind there. Number one, you talked about the importance of connecting the dots. And that also, though, that you need to think about, if you like, the deepening of relationship, where you can put a face to the name, so that, if you like, there is a more of a personal connection. And also with this notion of don't be a once is enough merchant. You need to be there on a regular basis, connecting with people to make things happen, which is a wonderful note on which to end. And I knew that this would be a great conversation. We're only touching the tip of the iceberg, but wonderful, wonderful tips. And can I thank you, Amanda, for stepping in today?
You're welcome.
Delighted. And folks, if you enjoyed that, please let us know. If you have any thoughts, any questions, please drop a line. And until the next time, here's to awesome speaking.